Start shortly. Hey, Alysha, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, good. Without further ado, I just want to say thank you, Alysha, for joining us today, and everybody for being part of this. And it's a tremendous opportunity just having Alysha here with me. And we've known each other for a while.
Mhm.
Actually, we worked together at our company before she left, and yeah, I'm by myself now. So, but I am so excited to have you here today. So today, I'll be talking with Alysha to dive into her creative mind and what she, aspired to do in the future, as well as in the current moment. Um, so just a quick, I have like a note of like questions. So just in case I look over this way, guys, bear with me. But so Alysha Carson published her first book, The Garden's Mark. If you haven't gotten her book yet, please make sure you get a copy. I highly recommend it. It's a phenomenal read, and you will enjoy it. It keeps you engaged, and one thing I like about it is just like the journey that it takes you. So it's a beautiful thing, and I encourage anyone watching to please make sure you grab your copy.
Thank
Um,
you. I am.
Alicia, she published her first debut novel called The Guardian's Mark, and this book is a young adult fiction novel, and is centered around a young woman's adventure as she discovers her reality is far from what she always know it to be. Correct. So prior to her publishing this book, Alicia has been writing for over 2 decades now. She started since she was 11 years old, and she's gained a mass audience on a formerly known website known as Fiction Press. And currently, she has over 7,000 readers, which I think is amazing that you have over 7,000 readers on Wattpad, and you've won numerous awards. And I think this is such a tremendous journey for you, and I just want to kind of get into that and see how far, what are the lessons you've learned along the way, and just kind of see what inspired you to do that. So without further ado, my first question would be, when did you realize you first wanted to be a writer?
And also, I want to say thank you so much for having me, Victor. I really appreciate it. And also, I see you, John John. Thanks for ordering. I hope you like it. But yeah, so like you said, I started writing when I was 11, more seriously writing, but around 7 or 8, I started keeping diaries and writing little stories, about like my family, my friends, whatever. And then at 11, I started taking notebooks with me everywhere. And a lot of it basically began when I was going grocery shopping with my mom.
Mhm.
And at 11, that's not really a fun activity for a kid. Now that I'm an adult, I love grocery shopping.
Yeah.
But at the time, I needed something to keep me busy. So I would bring notebooks and start writing. And then, further down the line in high school, I really got into it and started bringing chapters to school to share with my friends at lunch. And they were always very excited to read them. And they would be like, when is the next chapter coming? Are you going to bring it to school tomorrow? And so that book at the time I started posting on Fiction Press and started getting a lot of responses, a lot of good feedback. So honestly, that whole journey up until that point, I had really enjoyed it, but it wasn't until I started getting feedback from friends and from Fiction Press readers that I really was like, okay, I think I want to make this a career now and do something with this. Um,
That,
so,
yeah,
mhm.
that's amazing, like hearing that. And I just feel like, you know, especially starting at such a young age, not a lot of people know what they want to do, right? So
Yeah.
just, taking that and just putting yourself in that place to just explore and allow yourself to imagine, because part of it is imagination and just having that passion for it. And I think is such a beautiful thing, and also is elevating to just, allow yourself to experience that and also share your work because not a lot of people like to share their work with people,
Yeah.
other people. So I find that kind of
Tracking. Yeah. That's why it took
yeah,
me so long. I was writing in high school and, now I'm 31 and sharing it with the world. But I do
that's
feel
good.
blessed that I kind of knew what I wanted to do from a young age because it does take a lot, some people much longer. They don't figure it out until they're later in adult life. But for me, writing was just something that I always loved. So
Well,
that was,
I'm glad you're doing that because this book because I personally have read it as well. So it's like when I read it, I just felt so captivated by the storytelling, the character development, and it's a beautiful thing just to kind of be in that journey and in your creative mind and just kind of explore that. So
yeah.
it's lovely. I like that.
Yeah. I'm glad.
Uh, yeah. So to segue into our next question, could you? I know you just mentioned that you started writing when you were 11 years old, and sharing your stories with your classmates and stuff like that. Do you mind elaborating more on how this book came about?
Yeah, so I've always had a love for this genre for young adult fantasy, sci-fi, paranormal, whatnot. And I started writing it about 5.5 years ago when I moved to New York from San Diego.
Mm,
Moving to New York was a very exciting experience. It was my first time really leaving San Diego for an extended amount of time. And I was, sort of starting a new chapter in my life, and so that inspired me to start a new book. And then I began posting it on Wattpad. I was on Fiction Press. I started posting on Wattpad, and I was getting a lot of positive feedback on there. And so that kind of gave me the confidence to feel like, okay, this is something. It was the first time that I really felt strongly about wanting to share my work
mm.
outside of, an online website and friends and family. So just the combination of those things happened, and I was like, I want this to be my debut novel, my first thing that I share with the world.
And I think that's a brilliant way to answer that. Also, I think is it's a great thing that you actually took that leap of faith because it does help to show that whatever inspiration we have at some point it's our duty to kind of share that with the world because then we get to allow people to kind of dive into not only our mind but also escape from reality of some sort. So um and that's good because my next question is what motivates your writing, like, yeah.
Yeah. Honestly, there's no singular answer for that question. Anything can motivate my writing, so it really depends. It can be movies that I've watched, it can be books that I've read, it can be TV shows, it can be dreams. I have a very active imagination, so I have a lot of very exciting dreams and lucid dreams and whatnot. It can be real life situations that have happened to me or to people that I know. So it really just depends on whatever inspires me in the moment. Yeah, it can be really anything.
That's good. That's good. Having a little bit of, life patterns or, just kind of, it is beautiful because, for me too, I find it to be the same thing, especially whenever I write, I do tend to gravitate into, using things around me as an inspiration to create my work, right? So,
Yeah.
um, did you like because sometimes authors, right, they go through this phase where they try to decide what name to use and stuff like that. Did you ever consider writing under a pseudonym?
I did. Also, hi Natasha, I see you. But yeah, so I did consider that, while I was doing research for the essentially the process of putting a book out, self-publishing. That was one of the things I looked at, writing under a pseudonym, and it was suggested depending on your situation.
Mm,
And so, a lot of authors do it to kind of have a more catchy name, something that is going to stick with people. Some authors do it like J.K. Rowling, where she wrote the Harry Potter series, and then she decided that she wanted to write crime fiction. So she created a pseudonym, which is actually a man's name, and that's what she writes her crime fiction under. But for me, I decided this is the very beginning of my journey and my career, hopefully in writing.
Yeah.
So I wanted it to be under my name and fully be transparent that, this is my work. But I could see later on down the line maybe using a pseudonym if I try a different genre, if I, transition out of the young adult fantasy, supernatural world. But yeah, I decided, if I'm gonna do it, go all the way and just use my name.
Absolutely. And I think that's so beautiful and refreshing that um, you decided to go with your name. Because I personally, I experienced that too, where, you know, prior to my first book, I was like, what should I do? Like, should I use my name? Because
Yeah.
often, we get scared because it's like, but we don't want people to like know this is our work, especially if it's bad, if it turns out to be bad or something. It's
Yeah.
like, but
Yeah.
I think taking that opportunity to just allow yourself to experience it and be part of that work and put
Mhm.
your name out there no matter because I mean there's nothing 100% perfect, right? So
Yeah.
you just take that leap of faith and just go after it.
Yeah.
um
It's always worth it.
yeah. um I see new people joining, and I just want to thank you guys for coming here. Thank you, Dr. Dapper. What up? Mr. Z Perez Paris, thank you for joining. So I just, before we started, we're gonna open up the platform at the end for anybody that has questions, whether for me or Alysha. Just make sure you leave your questions in the comment section, and then we'll answer that at the end. So yeah, all right. We'll just keep going. Have you ever gotten writer's block?
Yes, I think for all creatives, it's impossible to not experience writer's block. It just kind of comes with the territory.
Mm,
So yeah, for me, it usually happens toward the end of a book because there's that pressure to finish it. And then, once you finish it, it's like, all right, what are we going to do now? It's time to put it out there.
yeah,
Um, and then, you have to feel inspired essentially to create art. So sometimes you'll be having a bad day, you don't really feel like writing, whatever it may be. So yeah, I've definitely experienced writer's block with basically anything that I've written
yeah.
from the beginning of time.
I agree. I agree. It's funny because it's just like you know. Sometimes I don't know. Like I just feel like sometimes people think, writers,
Yeah.
they got this, but it's like the struggle between trying to make sure that the storyline, the characters are
Mhm.
represented in the right way,
Yeah.
without having to mess up the way the story develops. I think is just something. It takes time. It
Yeah.
takes time.
Yeah.
So
Stuck.
going through that phase of trying to figure it out, it's like
Yeah.
a hitting a wave, right?
Hmm.
It's either you find your way to navigate it, or you just crash and then uh, get back up. But I
Yeah.
think it's a beautiful thing, and
Yeah.
thanks for answering that.
Yeah, of course. Also,
Um,
oops.
yeah.
Hi, Birdo. Thanks for ordering your book. Hope you like it. Oh, and we have a question for later.
Oh, nice. Thank you, everyone. Yeah, please do put your questions down there. We're gonna answer it at the end. So just bear with us. My next question is, what would you say is the message or lesson that you want your readers to gain from the Guardian's Mark?
Yeah, so I actually mentioned this in the foreword of the book. This book is dedicated to those with active imaginations and a hunger for adventure.
Mhm.
So I feel like there's something just so special and magical about children and their ability to imagine and, to kind of see the world as, the sky's the limit. I can do whatever I want. I can be whoever I want to be. And I feel like we kind of lose that as we get older. And so, I want people to kind of read this story and be immersed in this world and kind of feel their imaginations reignited. And then also, I feel inspired when I read other people's work. So I would love for it to also inspire others to start creating their own art, essentially. because sometimes that's all it takes for you to write your first piece of work or whatever it may be, or share it with the world. So
Yeah,
definitely inspiring others and just inspiring other people to keep their imaginations alive.
that's beautiful. Y'all heard it here, so make sure you grab. I'm not even kidding. Like this book is just the imagination and the creative of it is perfect. It's like it's perfect, and I just enjoy going through the story and just following each character. It just I feel like I'm with the characters, as I read this book. So it's a beautiful thing, and I just again I encourage anyone who hasn't gotten it to please get your copy. Um, and to go into the next question, how long on average does it take you to write a book?
Way too long. It takes me, so this book in particular took me 2 years to write. I feel like if I remember correctly, when I was younger and when I was writing in high school and whatnot, it probably took me 6 months or less to write a book or to finish a book. But now that I've gotten older and I'm such a perfectionist with everything, it's about 2 years. I would like to cut that down. I
Yeah.
was watching an interview with Stephen King, and he talks about his process where he has such a structured schedule that he writes 10 to 15 pages a day and finishes a book in 3 months, basically. So he's putting out 4 books a year. And so I'm
Wow.
going to get myself to that point. For now, it's 2 years, 1 year. I'm working on the sequel now. So
Yeah.
the goal is to finish it by fall. But yeah, I'd say 1 to 2 years.
Okay. I like that. I do agree with that because sometimes I mean I think too is the reason why it takes sometimes a long time. Starting out especially is like just trying to figure out the balance between you know your daily life and then trying to
Mhm.
like write as well.
Time,
Because
yeah.
yeah, so well that's
Yeah,
good. I'm glad you're working on that because it took
thank
a
you.
while for you to get
It
this
is.
out. So
Only 5 years. That's a little bit of time. Yeah, but
yeah.
hopefully this will be my career one day, and then that's all I have to do.
Absolutely, absolutely, and I can't wait for that day to come because we need more of your work out there. So
Thank you.
you're welcome. Um, what is the most difficult part of your artistic process, would you say?
So there's definitely two parts of the process that I struggle with. Number one is finishing a book. I definitely struggle with finishing a book because, as I mentioned earlier, there's a lot of pressure to finish it because once you're done, and it's like, all right, what's next? Now it's time to share it with the world and put it out there and let people read it and give you feedback.
Mm,
So definitely finishing a book, and then once it's finished, not over editing because I definitely over edit. I think a lot of creatives do this where you just want it to be perfect and you're trying to be a perfectionist essentially. And so you
mm.
keep editing until the final product resembles nothing of the original product.
Yeah,
So, and then it takes you forever. Like editing sometimes will take people longer than it takes to write the book. So I'm definitely working on, pushing myself to finish it regardless of whatever blocks I'm dealing with. And then also kind of, editing just enough, but not too much.
exactly. And I think we do. You mentioned what you said is so true because as creators or writers, we fall into that trap of, trying to make the work seem so perfect that we end up, editing so much and then we lose the work loses its value. And
Yeah,
just
totally.
recognizing that, yeah, just recognizing that just kind of it helps, because then in the back of your mind, as much as you want to exit so much, like you keep that in the back of your mind, like, oh, I don't, I don't want to take out too much that the
Yeah.
readers don't really, get the story of, what you're trying to display to them. So
Mhm. Or you
that's
get,
good.
yeah, or the
Yeah,
plot just doesn't make sense anymore because it
Ex-
changes so much.
exactly, exactly. Um, so with that being said, what is it that you do, or what is it that you like to do when you're not writing?
So pre-quarantine or pre-pandemic, Alysha was a very different person.
Mm,
I was very, active, always out and about. When I first moved to New York, I hadn't really traveled much. So I started traveling, and then, New York itself, I was just excited to explore, period. So I was doing everything possible, going to block parties, going to see live music, museums, lounges, whatnot. And then the pandemic happened. And so now that I've been home so much, I've definitely been cooking a lot more and
yeah.
teaching myself new things because before I knew like five recipes and then make the same thing over and over again. And I was like, all right, I think it's time to learn something new. Um, so definitely cooking. And I actually recently got a pair of roller skates. So I'm teaching myself to roller skate. It's something I've always enjoyed, but I just wasn't that great at.
Yeah.
So by the end of summer, I'll be a professional, especially because roller skating is really coming back. So I would like to be good at it, have that be one of my side hobbies.
Nice. That's good. Well, whenever you get professional at it, I need, I'll sign up for the class because I don't know. I see a lot of people do it on,
Yeah,
on social media, and I feel like I want to learn how to do it. I've never
I think
really,
so. It makes it look so smooth and easy, and once you get the basics down, it's easier. But it's tough. I'll teach you once I'm an expert, but you got to give me like 8 months.
sounds good. It sound if like have you like broken any like foot or I don't know, like trying to do this.
Yeah, I have twisted my ankle. I twisted my ankle like a month ago, right after I got them. So yeah, I see why people wear like knee pads and
Mm.
whatnot. So I've definitely hurt myself, but yeah, I think that just comes with learning something new.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. You fall and you get back up and you just keep,
Yeah,
keep going. So,
Natasha,
um,
teach me too. I got you, girl.
yeah, everybody who wants to rolling class or something, just hit her up later because we'll finna get this. So,
And that's my
um,
hobby, my next profession.
yeah. And do you think you mentioned something with the COVID situation, right? Do you think I guess being on lockdown or being on quarantine, do you think that has helped you like to just be focused on your work and being able to get this book out? Like, what is your take on that?
Yeah, it definitely, I honestly don't think I would have put it out for another few years if the pandemic hadn't happened.
Mm,
Obviously, terrible thing that happened for everyone involved, everyone basically. But I wouldn't have put the book out for a while because I just, life was just so crazy. I was going to work, I was doing, running errands afterward, then going home, and you're too tired to really focus on your side passions or hobbies or whatever.
yeah,
So I think all of this extra time, or I know all of this extra time, essentially, I was like, I have to do something with this. I've never had this much time at home and extra time essentially and gotten this much rest. So I was like, I need to put this, use
into
this.
work. Yeah.
So yeah, that definitely motivated me to put it out sooner.
I'm
Otherwise, I'm
That's
out in
good. So there's a good and bad of it. But
yeah, yeah.
the good part is
The blood.
using the time and making it work for you,
Hmm.
right? Yeah. Okay, I like that. And do you view writing like as a kind of a spiritual practice for you? What is your take on that?
Yeah, so so the pen name Create to Release. I used it on Fiction Press, then I was using it on Wattpad, now it's on my website. And Create to Release essentially just means creating to release whatever is inside of you, whatever story you want to tell, whatever you want to share with the world, even whatever emotions you want to release. It can be, a very therapeutic thing to create art. So yeah, I definitely view it as a spiritual thing. And, the more that I've done it over time, the more that I felt that it was something I was meant to do.
Mhm.
So yeah, I would definitely say writing is a spiritual thing for me.
I agree. I agree. Because it helps take you out from your current moment to just kind of being in a transition uh of a like in a different atmosphere, perhaps, if I may use that word, to just kind of allow yourself to experience that and then bring it into life, right? Yeah,
Yeah. Yep. Bring a story to life and have other people read it and enjoy it.
got you. All right, so we're almost at the end, everyone. The I have three rapid questions, and I'm gonna give you 2 seconds to answer them, so that way we can jump into the questions everybody else have for you. So,
I'm ready.
um,
Let's
the
do
first
it.
rapid question is your favorite song. Two
Gotta
seconds.
get, gotta get through this by Daniel Bedingfield.
Okay,
It's a throwback.
cool. Your favorite author.
I have two, Dean Koontz and Janet Ivanovich.
Time out. Okay, good.
Like
Um,
the other one, Dean Koontz and Janet Ivanovich.
I got you. I got you. Last but not least, something that makes you smile.
The life I've created for myself in New York, because I was definitely, I know this is a 2 second answer, but I definitely had a very different life and was a different person in San Diego. And coming to New York just sort of pushed me out of my comfort zone and, pushed me to go for the things I really wanted. So, yeah, that's what makes me smile, thinking about
That's
the journey.
that's good. That's good. That's more than 2 seconds, but I'll let you slide with
Yeah.
that. All right. Now we'll go through the questions and see. So we'll start from the first question. Let me see here. Mm. From Natasha, she said, "What advice do you have for someone looking to start writing?"
Well, number one, just start because that's really, practice makes perfect essentially. So just start
Hmm.
writing, write whatever inspires you essentially. And also just kind of read works of art that inspire you and other people's writing because I've definitely kind of, I don't know, fashioned my writing around other writers, other authors that I've read. But yeah, really honestly, just start and I don't know, there are a lot of people out there that have started writing later on in life, so don't even see it as, an age thing or like, this is something I just started doing, so maybe I'm not meant to do it. Like just have fun with it and take it from there.
Yeah, it's never too late. Just
Mhm.
like you said, just get into it.
Yeah.
Um, and we have another one from Caleb. Um, he said, "What education, class, or book do you feel helped you grow the most as a writer?"
Um, hmm. Education class or book? Well, I did take some classes at the Gotham Writers Workshop in New York, so that definitely helped me out with honing my writing and just being around other writers and hearing their writing. Um, and then The Mortal Instruments is a book series that I like absolutely love. So reading that just really inspired me. And I also, like I said, I kind of fashioned my writing around other writers and the way that they write. So yeah, honestly, just reading a lot of books in the genre that I love to write because this is, I'm embarrassed to admit this, but I read all of the Twilight series and I remember the first book, I loved it so much that the second book I read in like a day.
Mm,
I
wow.
literally read morning till night and did not stop and I finished it in a day. So definitely just reading works of art that you aspire to write. Or reading books of art that I aspired to write is what
Mm,
helps me write.
that's that's good. That's good. So anybody who needs somebody to read them a Twilight book, hit up Alicia because she read it all. Um, Another question from Natasha. Who are your favorite authors? I think
Oh yeah, well yeah, I mean I can delve deeper into that. But yeah,
yeah.
Dean Koontz and Janet Ivanovich. Also Rachel Kushner is really great. Dean Koontz writes sort of like thrillers, um,
Hmm.
which is not at all what I write, but he just writes them so well and they're page turners, so I love Dean Koontz. Janet Ivanovich is amazing. She has the Stephanie Plum series, which they turned into a movie with Gerard Butler and Katherine Heigl. But that series is just those books are just such a like fun, quick read, just like silly and it's about a bond agent basically that has to like whatever, catch criminals and bring them to court or whatever. But that series is really fun. I've like loved that forever. And then Rachel Kushner also is a great author. So yeah, yeah, those are my three tops.
Nice, nice. I hope that answered your question, Natasha. So, we have another one from Patty Panda. That's a unique name. Uh, if the Garden Smart became a movie, who would you cast as Ava and Gavin?
Oh man, that's a tough question. Who would I cast as Ava and Gavin? Gavin, well, I love this actor, so maybe he could play Gavin. Well, oh man, that's a hard one. Probably someone from Game of Thrones, because Gavin is supposed to have a kind of like rough, bearded, whatever appearance.
Mhm.
But also the guy who plays Loki, I can't remember his name right now in the Avengers. I would probably cast him to play Gavin. Ava, who would I cast to play Ava? Who's an actress that I love? That's hard. Somebody recent. Maybe someone else from Game of Thrones too. I'll have to get back to if let me think on this one a little bit. I'm gonna figure out
That
Ava.
that's a hard question. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
like
I'm
you
gonna
have
have
so
to
many
do it.
people in your mind, and it's just like who do I pick?
Yeah, 'cause
Um,
it's like, this is my baby, so I'm like, it's got to be perfect. So I'm gonna think
I
about
I agree. Um, Another question from Mr. Z Paris. He said, "What would you give? What advice would you give your younger self when you first started writing?"
also, hi there. Well, I would tell my younger self to pursue this much sooner because
Mm,
it definitely took me a long time to get to this point. And I had when you're younger, you have a lot of reservations and doubts and about what you want to do or about whether or not you can make something, really pursue something. So I would tell young Alicia to quit doubting herself and just do it and write and share her writing with people. And yeah, just do all the things that she wanted to do. And also move to New York sooner because New York also pushed me in my writing. So
yeah,
I didn't move here until
absolutely.
25 or 26, so I would have moved here at like 18, honestly.
That's fair. That's fair enough. That's fair
Yeah,
enough.
yeah.
Yeah,
Move to a place that pushes you to do better and be better. That's what I would tell younger Alicia.
got you. Yeah, I feel like New York has that. What is the word I'm looking for? Like it just has that thing where it
Magic.
drives you exactly. It just drives you
Mhm.
to just want to do crazy things, and just kind of enjoy the process. So that's
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
That's
New
good.
York, yeah, New York is the place to be for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And
Also, hi Jonas, hi Eero.
another question from Blood Crows and Honey. That's nice. I like
Oh,
that.
Brianna,
Yeah. Who
hi.
is your favorite character in the book?
Well, Gavin, 'cause I'm a hopeless romantic, so Gavin is definitely my favorite character. Um, Trying to think of who else I loved. Also Nakir, because she's like one of the strong female leaders in the book. And I definitely liked having, a strong female representative, I guess, outside of the main character Ava. So yeah, I'd say Gavin and Nakir, my two top favorite characters.
I agree. I agree. I love those characters as well. I think those are they just have that spark. So
They have the
uh,
magic.
exactly. Not to give away too much, but yeah, they are amazing. And then we have another question from Iro. Thank you, Iro, by the way, for joining here.
Yes.
And he said, "What was your biggest obstacle during the writing process?"
Yeah, so this is something, well, multiple things. This is something that we had talked about earlier. Finishing the book, finishing any book is a
Mm,
struggle for me because just, the beginning of the process is much easier because you're feeling so inspired and it's something new. And then there's the long haul of getting to the end of it and forcing yourself to finish a book. So that was definitely an obstacle. And then, I mentioned in my release for the book that I began writing this book 5.5 years ago. I
Yeah.
finished it 3.5 years ago. So 3.5 years it took me basically to gain the confidence to put it out there. So really just building the confidence to share my writing with other people. And then also just, actually finishing something because finishing a book is really hard.
It is hard. Would you like, okay, this is, anybody else that has any question, please leave it there. But to go back to the previous question that you just answered,
Mhm.
is it fear, or like what would you say like prevents you from, I guess, finishing the book, or yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think it's a lot of things. I feel like we all deal with the fear of sharing things that we care about a lot with
Mhm.
others and the public and whatnot. So yeah, it's just that fear of rejection, fear of judgment. What if people don't like it? What if they think it's terrible? What if it's a total flop? So yeah, definitely just fear in general, and that's why I definitely would tell my younger self, like, just freaking do it because
Yeah,
this book so long ago and I could have put it out then. So yeah, it's yeah, that I'd say fear is like the largest component. Um, and yeah, also just second guessing yourself, which goes hand in hand with fear, but second guessing like whether or not you're good enough or whether or not you've got what it takes.
mhm.
But I always try to remind myself that, not to talk negatively about 50 Shades of Grey, but like 50 Shades of Grey, that
Yeah,
whole series was like a fan fiction, not fantastically written, and now it's like this giant empire. So yeah, I think, yeah, just not second guessing myself and finding that confidence.
that's good. That's good. I'm not sure if I asked this question already, but I'll still ask it again, just for reiteration. I'm sure you've touched a little bit on it, but what advice would you give, a young person, or, someone who, or even an older person who is like trying to navigate the journey or the process of going, how to go about writing, or perhaps just creating anything in general? What would be your advice to them, you know, for those people who are struggling, to just get their work out there?
Yeah. So I definitely am a huge fan and believer in self-help work.
Mm-hmm.
I follow a lot of people on YouTube, watch a lot of videos, read a lot of books, whatnot about that topic. And what a lot of them tell people to do is to sort of imagine two different scenarios. So imagine what your life would be like if you pursued everything that you wanted to, if every dream that you had came true, and then imagine what your life would be like if you did none of that, if you did nothing, if you worked the job that's comfortable, didn't really go after anything that you wanted. Imagine those two scenarios and which one would you rather have, become a reality. So I definitely try to always remind myself of that. I think the pandemic also just taught us to really appreciate the life that we
Mm-hmm.
have and the fact that we're, healthy, able-bodied, have so many opportunities, have so many years ahead of us. So you're kind of doing yourself a disservice to not pursue your passions.
Mm-hmm.
So really just, taking a moment to recognize the blessing that it is to be here and be alive and, be able to pursue what you want to pursue.
I agree. I agree. Yeah, just it all boils down to just taking a leap of faith, because, nothing is ever guaranteed, right? So you just have to trust that whatever you do, is worth the exposure, is worth the eyeballs pretty much, and just go for it. We get paralyzed by fear so much that we don't want to do anything but just to
Yeah.
be complacent. So that's a great advice. We have another question from Masoda's Closet. And
Hi.
she said, how did you decide on a publisher or going solo?
Yeah, so growing up, I definitely always had this image of, moving to New York, finding a publisher, and then basically making billions of dollars within the time period of a year, essentially. But self-publishing is so common nowadays, and honestly, so much easier to do than going through a traditional publisher. And you can still self-publish and then transition into getting a publisher. So that's basically my plan. I wanted to self-publish, sort of build my brand, build a following around my book or my work, once I put out the sequel and whatnot. And then I feel like it's a lot easier for writers to get recognition and to have a publisher be interested in their work and take them more seriously when they already have a following, as opposed to someone who doesn't really have, anything to back up their work. So that's what I decided to do. And also just seeking a publisher is really difficult. You have to find an agent first, and then you have to send your manuscript out like to 500 different people.
Yeah.
It's a very exhausting experience. So
Mm,
I feel like going this route will definitely help that process be a little bit easier.
I agree. I agree. I remember going through that, sending like all the emails to like agents, and
Mhm.
then you get this sad note back that
Yeah,
they can't.
they're
It's
not
like,
looking
man,
interested
just
at this
try.
time. Hmm.
Exactly. But that's good. That's good. So I don't know if anyone has, we're taking questions right now. If anyone has any more question, uh, just leave that in the comment section below. If not, we will, proceed to ending the live. And but before we go, Alysha, where can people find you on social media?
Yeah, so they can find me. I have two Instagram pages. Create to Release is one of them, and Golden Oreo with an E on the end, an extra E on the end is the other one.
Mm,
So they can go to either of those. There's a link in my bio on both of those that will take you to my website or to Amazon to purchase my book.
I mean, they could always publish there too.
If
So
if you want to, if a publisher is watching right now, please feel free to buy my book. Feel free.
yeah. Well, thank you everyone for
Yeah.
joining us today, and thank you so much, Alysha, for coming on and being part of this. And um, before I let you go, actually, I do have one more question.
All right.
What can people expect from you in the future?
I wasn't prepared for this question. Well, the sequel to The Guardians, Mark, that is something I'm working on. My goal is to have it finished by the fall, so hopefully I'll be releasing it by the winter. And then I am working on some new things. They're in the very beginning stages,
Yeah.
so I won't talk about the details on those yet. But definitely the sequel to The Guardians, Mark. It's actually going to be a three-book series.
Nice.
So you'll have at least two more books with that, and then we'll see after that what else I decide to share with everyone or
All
put
right.
out.
That's good. Well, you guys heard it here. So make sure you follow Alysha on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and go get her book as well. Remember, The Guardian's Mark. And I enjoy this book, and I know you guys will as well. So please make sure to support her. And I hope we can do this more often. And
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. When your book comes out, then we'll do it.
we'll get to that. But yeah, I'm excited. But right now, I'm excited more for you. So just I wish you all the best, and I can't wait to see more stuff that you do. And yep.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. And thank you everybody for joining and watching and submitting your questions. And this will also be available later on both of our IG pages. So, yeah.
Correct. Yeah. All right. Take care, everyone.
All right,
Bye.
thank you. Bye.